I got to get to Curtis Ellis. Curtis, with the Trump campaign, he's a policy advisor. He's in Trump Tower in New York. Curtis, good to have you. Good morning.
Good morning, John.
Okay, I wanted to spell a couple things, Curtis, right off the bat. Phones are ringing off the hook. One, there are reports on the media today that I got when I got up at 3:30 a.m. that the Trump campaign was pulling resources out of Virginia and abandoning it. I talked to the Trump family at 5 a.m. today who said that this is completely false and untrue. I'm the acting chair in Virginia until we find somebody to replace Mr. Stewart. I'm the co-chair and the spokesman. No media person called me. Nobody confirmed it with me. Nobody confirmed it with any Trump official, any place, anywhere. And it's all over the state. And I'm telling you, Curtis, this was done to dispirit and demoralize the tens of thousands of Trump volunteers that we have in Virginia, which is overwhelming the Clinton campaign. They have 700 paid staffers. We have tens of thousands of Trump volunteers. This is an effort simply to dispirit them. Now, you're in Trump Tower. I mean, I talked to the Trump family today. It's false.
It is false. It is false on its face. It is false in its substance. It's false on its face. It's false on its backside. It's false through and through. This is another example of how the media is misreporting and reporting disinformation, exactly as you say, in an attempt to dispirit the Trump volunteers, to discredit Mr. Trump, to discredit the Trump campaign. There is an all-out effort on the part of the establishment media to destroy the Trump movement. That is their mission. Look who's behind the media. The media is the same corporate establishment that is part of the slave trade network. They benefit from cheap labor. They benefit from outsourcing. They benefit from open borders. They believe in that. I'll bet Wavy has hired H-1B visa people. I mean, it's endless. But sticking to this very point, the media, as we've learned from WikiLeaks, is in bed with the Clinton campaign. And the major media, the big guys in Washington and New York have given orders to all of their affiliates and anybody associated with them that you must stop Trump. Don't bother to fact check. Don't let facts get in the way of your mission. Put out anything, any allegation, any negative story possible, put it out there, get it out there. And it's like the old Perry Mason or Law and Order series where the lawyer puts something out there, the judge overrules it and says the jury should disregard it, but by that time it's too late. The public's already heard it. The jury's already heard this ridiculous allegation, and you can't unring the bell. That's what they're doing here. One of the WikiLeaks stories showed that the Clinton campaign had cocktail parties with champagne and dinner parties with lobster and steak and fine wine, where they would invite all of the top media players, the John Harwoods of the world, the Jake Tappers and their producers and everybody else, and the executive directors of the news divisions of the networks, to tell them what the Clinton campaign was going to be doing. It was all off the record and background, which is a fancy way of saying in secret. The reporters were not allowed to tell anybody that they just were wined and dined by the Clinton campaign and turned into hostages, willing accomplices of one of the two campaigns. So this is exactly as you say it is. They don't bother to check facts if it's something that will hurt the Trump campaign, because that's their mission. Their mission no longer is to report the news, to report facts. Their mission is to destroy Donald Trump.
Totally. 100%. So,
John, you and I talked about this months ago, a year ago, that Donald Trump has exposed every falsehood at the foundation of American politics, beginning with that there are two parties with wildly divergent views. No, he showed that both parties are part of the globalist elite at that time. Now, one of the parties, thanks to Mr. Trump, has rethought its position on that. he exposed this make-believe that the media is some independent force that doesn't take sides. He's exposed that now. That is so clear. It is just, and now they've got this parade of women coming forward. And before they even go to court, before we even have a hearing, before we even know whether what they're saying is true, the media is putting it out 24/7. These are more false, baseless allegations that are completely fabricated and dredged up by the liberal media in order to help Hillary Clinton, because that is their order. They've been ordered. I mean, it can't be any clearer. I can't make it any clearer. These people whose million-dollar jobs depend on following orders from their bosses have told them, destroy Donald Trump, help Hillary Clinton get elected. If they want to keep their job, that from the lowest level producer and intern up there at CNN to the highest paid anchor like Chris Cuomo and company, if they want to keep their jobs, they will help Hillary Clinton. That's what they've been told.
Unbelievable. Curtis Ellis, policy advisor, the Donald Trump for President campaign in Trump Tower today in New York. Curtis, these reports of these allegations that come out yesterday, look, they seem pretty suspicious to me, right? We get 4 women. Most of this happened, one of them, Curtis, 37 years ago. The woman is now 73. None of these corroborated. None of these reported. All of them, oddly enough, no witnesses. Nobody ever went to their human resources department. Who does this? All of a sudden, these things come out in a coordinated effort, and they come out the day before another WikiLeaks dump leak on Clinton. And the difference is the emails are real. These are just potentially false allegations 27 days out. I mean, what am I missing here?
Yeah, really. No corroboration. This is a he said, she said thing, and it's a she said thing. I mean, no corroboration. 20 years later, and look, this woman says she got on an airplane and the stewardess took her to first class. That's never happened to me. I've got friends who work in the travel industry. They're travel writers, right? These people travel all the time. And they say that's ridiculous. Stewardesses do not have the right to move somebody from coach to first class. This is the details of the story just don't add up. Move her to first class, and they put her down next to Donald Trump. I mean, come on. And then but as you say, there's no corroboration. Who are these women? What's their political affiliation? And I wouldn't be surprised if they're all Hillary supporters. And this other one in Trump Tower, she claims she gets off the elevator and Donald Trump starts going all over her or something. I mean, right. And doesn't report it to anybody, doesn't tell anybody. Well, allegedly tells her boyfriend, right? Now, there's a credible, uninterested, neutral source. It's just absolutely ludicrous. Look, Donald Trump has a history of promoting and empowering women at his companies. You've got Vice President of Human Resources praises him. You've got the Executive Vice President says he was supportive and encouraging. You've got the General Counsel saying he helped her overcome her caution about her abilities. He encouraged her to grow. He's ahead of his time in providing career advancement for women. He's promoted women in the male-dominated industry. This guy's been under a microscope by all of the New York media for 40 years. If he had a record of doing the things that these women claim he did, this would have come out a long time ago, because every newspaper in New York, look, the New York Times didn't become a liberal newspaper overnight. It's been there all the time. It's been there. It's been liberal all the time. And they're all looking for scoops, and they're all looking to take down the big guy. If there was any basis to this stuff, it would have come out a long time ago. I mean, all these newspaper reporters are like salivating trying to get Curtis, a scoop.
You are so right. And I tell you what, just so my audience knows, Curtis lives in New York. I lived in New York. My father worked in New York. He was a union leader and a pressman. He brought home, when we lived in Madison, New Jersey, my father brought home 4 newspapers a day, the Post, the Daily News, the Times. He was in the business. He just brought them home. All they did was battle each other for scoops. If any of this was true,
right.
You think the Daily News or the New York Post, who battle each other on the newsstands every day, they printed everything else on Trump. They printed his affair, Marla Maples, the kids, the whole thing. They printed all of a sudden they're going to protect him? I mean, this is so ludicrous. It's beyond belief. Coupled with the fact that the guy runs a business. If he did this to anybody, you could sue him, right, for countless millions of dollars. The guy had a lot of money. All of a sudden, these come out. No, I mean, somebody on an elevator, you go right into the human resources office. That's the end of it. I mean, everybody knows this. It is just unbelievable that all these come out today or last night, not corrupt. And the thing is, there's no witnesses, not corroborated by anybody.
No witnesses. No witnesses.
Oddly enough, there's no witnesses. All of them, no witnesses. Right?
Yeah. First class cabin on an airplane, no witnesses. No witnesses. Stewardess, this magical stewardess, who's also the CEO of the airline, says, I'm going to take you out of your cheap seat and give you the most expensive seat on the airplane sitting next to the billionaire. No witnesses, nobody, nothing. Right.
It's unbelievable.
The whole thing is just ludicrous. And it's all very well timed. Look, when Anderson Cooper put that question in the last debate to Mr. Trump, and he kept hammering home, well, you never did this, you never did this, you never did that. I knew that was a setup. I said, this is a setup. They've got something waiting. They've got something something waiting. This was a setup. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop now. And Anderson Cooper, I'll tell you, somebody ought to get some private eyes out there. I'm sure that all these anchors have never said anything or done anything that their spouses wouldn't be proud of, right? I mean, Come on. This is just ridiculous. These people are holier than thou. You have this holier than thou attitude. But I'll tell you what, the allegations are baseless. It's totally made up stuff. It fits. You have to look for a pattern. And what's the pattern? The pattern is the media will do anything and say anything to stop Trump. All their advertisers, their corporate ownership, everything is they are part of the establishment that Donald Trump has vowed to take on and take apart. So, are we surprised? We shouldn't be surprised that they will lie and do anything. They have destroyed their own credibility, and it's a spectacle. It's a thing to watch.
Well, I tell you what, they're going to pull out all the stops, and we just have to keep fighting. You know what? At the end of the day, Curtis, the truth will set you free. Curtis, I appreciate you coming in. I know you're in Trump Tower today on short notice. Again, the campaign is not pulling resources out of Virginia. That is a totally bogus and false report. It's just amazing to me how this stuff gets started and people just run with it. Curtis, have you heard anybody say that they're abandoning Virginia?
No, not at all.
Completely false.
And the
right?
RNC is in totally, and the Trump campaign is in to Virginia.
Totally false.
It's just ridiculous. And it's another lie by the media. You know, the media, CNN this morning, trying to be even-handed. So they talk about Trump for half an hour. Then they say, now we're going to talk about Hillary's emails. So they have a segment, Hillary's emails. They bring on somebody from the Hillary campaign, from the DNC, and they start out, the first question out of the mouth is, Donald Trump has all these allegations against him. Would you care to address that? That's their segment on Hillary, the revelations about Hillary's emails. And then they talk about, and then they say, and then their answer is, after she goes on and on about that, the DNC person says, and what's important here is that it's the Russians. This is espionage by the Russians. But here, let me just say this one last thing. If, in fact, I mean, it's such a ridiculous question. Don't pay attention to what the emails tell us. Just worry about the Russians. The Russians are coming. The Russians are coming. If, in fact, the Russians have hacked Hillary's emails, what that means, very simply, is the Russians can blackmail Hillary Clinton. Do you want her in the Oval Office when she is now she can be blackmailed by the Russians. This is how espionage works. This is how the Russians have operated for decades. The Russian security services get the dirt on somebody, and then they use that to pressure them. So what the DNC is admitting, and what the media plays along with this the Russians did it narrative, is they are admitting that Hillary Clinton is being blackmailed by Putin.
Unbelievable. We're out of time. I want to thank Curtis Ellis, live at the Trump Tower today in New York, policy advisor, Donald Trump for campaign headquarters, and Curtis confirming that these allegations against Trump not true, also saying that there is absolutely no truth at all to the rumor that the Trump campaign is abandoning Virginia. This, again, ladies and gentlemen, just completely false and made up.